The fun that we're going to talk about this week is going to be based around the theme that we talked about in a previous show called The Best Job in the NFL. My thesis is that the best job in the NFL is backup quarterback. Now, Ben, we're going to look at the backup quarterbacks throughout the league. We're going to start with the AFC East. And if you think about the AFC East, who are your starters? The Bills, Josh Allen, right?
Right.
You got
Mac Jones, Zach Wilson.
Mac Jones for the Patriots, Zach Wilson for the Jets, and Tua Tagovailoa. How close was I there?
Very good. Very good.
Don't ask me to do it again. For the Dolphins, right?
Right.
Now, the goal of your season is always to win a Super Bowl. So my question is, if your starter goes down, where do your Super Bowl chances go? Do they flush, or do you still have some hope, some life? You know, the classic is with the Eagles. You know, your all-pro, Pro Bowl quarterback goes down, young gunslinger, and they bring in a relic from the past, Nick Foles. He just happens to have what it takes to get it done and gets a Super Bowl. How often does that happen?
A couple times.
That's about it. You know, out of what is this, Super Bowl, what, 50?
53?
Woo! Yeah, you know what I mean? So a couple times means it doesn't happen often. So we're going to take a look at it, and we're going to look at it from, you know, who they are. And the reason that it's the best job is because the pay versus the wear and tear balance is so favorable. It's just a beautiful thing, you know? And we saw that with the Minnesota Vikings because Kirk Cousins never gets hit. And that quarterback, that backup, has been in the league almost 10 years, averaging close to $1 million per year. And I think he's touched the ball in a game maybe 3 times that entire time.
What can I say?
You can only smile. You know what I mean? You're in the league. Okay. So let's let's get ready to talk about the best job in the NFL. And to me, it says something about the GM and the coaching and stuff when you look at who they have backing up their starter. So let's take a look at, we're going to talk a little bit about who they are and how much money they make and have made over their career, because let's face it, man, I mean, a backup quarterback job can be rather sweet, and apparently you can get some longevity out of it. A lot of these guys are around for a long, long time. I think that's one of the things that struck me. It's not like they're in the league 2 and 3 years and then they're out. They're in the league for a while. So let's start out with your favorite AFC team, the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Buffalo Bills have one of the more exciting quarterbacks in the NFL in Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been shown to be a winner. The Bills are considered to be Super Bowl contenders, ready to get up there and play with the likes of the best in the AFC, especially. And should Josh Allen go down, the responsibility falls to one Case Keenum. Case Keenum has had a pretty nice career, came in as an undrafted free agent in 2012 with the Texans. Over his career, he's made over $45 million, with the largest cash payout being at about $18 million in 2018, when he came off of a pretty strong year with the Vikings and got picked up by the Broncos. Right now, he's backing up on the Bills. He's making about $3.5 million. right now. And that's a big change from what I'm not sure what Josh Allen's making right about now. Do you remember what his contract looked like?
Josh Allen's up real close to 30 mil.
Okay, so there you go. That's your separation in terms of contract between the starter and the backup. So what do you think about Case Keenum?
Well, first of all, money-wise, obviously in 2018, he went over to the Denver Broncos. 18 mil back then was real close to good starter money. That was a few years ago. That number has obviously jumped over the last couple of seasons. But again, that was probably his last opportunity to be on a team where they expected him to be the starting quarterback. As backups go, I would say the Buffalo Bills are in pretty good shape. Case Keenum has proven that he's capable of putting up numbers, learning a system, ingraining himself into a system, and being able to win games, either as a backup or as a starter. Now, obviously, when he was a starter with Denver, the team wasn't that good, and he didn't put up any astonishing numbers to be able to hold on to that starting spot. Thus, the beginning of his career as being a backup. However, I would say he's a fairly capable backup. If something was to happen to Josh Allen and they were on a real nice run and looking like a serious Super Bowl contender, which I expect them to be, I don't know that Case Keenum would be able to finish the job, but they could do a whole lot worse. Case Keenum is a very capable backup quarterback.
Well, when we look across the AFC East, which is what we're looking at today, it'll be interesting. Case Keenum, the highest level of playoff that he was what, the NFC Championship, right?
Yeah, he went pretty far with who? New Orleans?
With
Minnesota. Minnesota, right.
Minnesota, yeah. So, you've got a backup with that level of playoff experience. It's got to be a good thing. That's got to be a good thing. So right now, he's do you think he's doing any mentoring, or is he just sitting back letting
a little bit? I mean, let's face it, the guy's been around. Josh Allen's really just going to his fourth or fifth season. So obviously, as good as Josh Allen is, there's some things that Case Keenum could probably school him on. I think Case Keenum will be a big help in quarterback meetings as a mentor and just helping prep him for games.
All right, so there's your Case Keenum ready to take the Bills and pick it up if Josh Allen is not available. Josh Allen doesn't get hurt too often, so more than likely he'll be holding. What is it that they hold nowadays? Is it the laptop? The Surface?
Yeah, it's a Surface, yeah.
He'll be holding the Surface and getting ready for whatever. So Case Keenum will be ready to step in should something happen.
Think about it this way, okay? Last year, the backup was Mitchell Trubisky. Who would you trust more as your backup to Josh Allen?
Oh, definitely Case Keenum.
There you go.
Case Keenum,
Mitchell Trubisky, number one, is much younger. Number two, he's still got enough youth and a mix of youth and experience to compete if he's in the right situation for a starter job. So you don't want to keep him as a backup. You'll let him go and bring in a guy that you know can get the job done for you if you need him.
Okay. Case Keenum. All right. Who's up next? Let's see. Let's talk about those Miami Dolphins. Interesting listening to Steelers coach talking about how Brian Flores, former head coach for the Dolphins, wound up as an assistant coach. He was like, I really didn't know the guy. He's like, but when it looked, I thought he was going to get a head coaching job. And then when it looked like he wasn't, I'm like, nah, I can't let that talent just go, So he scooped him up, man. Part of that brain trust. So that's going to be interesting. Teddy Bridgewater is coming in, if needed, for Tua Tagovailoa. Now, You don't think that this is going to engender any conflict, that Teddy's pretty much grounded as the backup there?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. You don't want to commit to a guy who's had the injury problems that Teddy's had. Yet he's been around long enough. He's been in enough different situations, and he's proven himself to be very capable, again, of putting up numbers and winning games. So it looks like he's going to be resigned to being a backup. His last opportunity to solidify himself as a starting quarterback was probably last season in Denver. And again, injuries did him in.
Well, you know, he has career earnings of $57.5 million. He's averaging about 7.2, close to 7.2 million per year. So if he can survive on, in that backup role, he'll continue, because I do believe, let me take a quick look here. They're paying him about $6.5 million. So he's only about $1 million under what he normally averages anyway as a backup. So I don't know though, Ben. I just wonder about the leash on Tua, whether, if they're really going to give him a full leash. I think that's my only question with him.
No, I kind of agree with you. When you look at it that way, I'm not going to commit, in my opinion, that they will give him an infinite leash. I know that they want to give him every opportunity possible to prove that with the weapons they've gotten for him, he can be their quarterback going forward. However, if he was to falter, you do want a backup who's had a lot of starting experience. So Teddy fits the bill. But they're hoping like heck that doesn't happen, because Teddy's proven himself to be an injury problem. And if in fact Tua was to fall on his face and Teddy had to go, I mean, Teddy's only as good as that next big hit, and then you got all kinds of problems, because who's going to back up Teddy? You know what I'm saying?
That is always the question, isn't it? Yes, that is always the question.
I, for one, am rooting for Tua. I think Tua is going to do well. I really do. I think the confidence that they showed in him, the fact that for whatever reason, I don't know what his problems were with Brian Flores, but now that that's off of his shoulders, obviously that was a burden to him. I think Tua is going to do well. I really do. Okay. Not win the division well, but beat the Patriots once well.
Beat the Patriots once well?
Yeah.
That's an interesting definition of well there.
I think they get swept by the Bills. I think they go 1-1 against the Patriots, and I think they smoked the Jets twice.
Smoked the Jets twice. Interesting. All right, well, let's take a look at the next player that we have. You mentioned the Patriots. So he's going to split with the Patriots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brian Hoyer is backing up Mac Jones. Brian Hoyer was an undrafted free agent, right? He's got 12 years in the league, averaging about 2.6 million with career earnings at about 34.3 million. And he, again, 12 seasons that he's been around, and he started with the Patriots. They're the ones who drafted him, or he was an undrafted free agent, so they picked him up, and they saw something in him, and now they've brought him back. And would you put mentor beside his name?
Yes, I would. I would put mentor beside his name. Number one, he's been around for a long time. Number two, I'm trying to remember if Matt Castle was still with the Patriots when Brian Hoyer was there, because they let him go pretty quick. Of course, like you said, he was just an undrafted free agent, so it wasn't like they were really looking for a lot out of him. He had some opportunities with Arizona and with Cleveland, but In fact, I think he was a starter in Cleveland, and I think he was a starter in Houston for a little while too. But those two did not work out. Thus, he turns into a backup. Spend a year with your team before going back to New England. And, again, he hasn't really shown that he can really hold on to the quarterback reins for a team, especially a team that's a contender. So with New England, he's basically there because he's been there. He knows the system. He knows the coaches. He's been around long enough to know kind of the ins and outs of being a professional. He can help Mac Jones, who's a young guy, in that respect. And then they'll have to keep their fingers crossed that Mac Jones stays healthy and they don't have to depend on Brian Hoyer for multiple games.
Yeah. Now, from the perspective that we were talking about, where I was saying that the goal is to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
You pick up a backup in Brian Hoyer. You've got a rookie. I don't know what the Super Bowl aspirations for the Patriots are. Do you think that they
Again, that's going to be different for every team. So some teams, when you're looking at the Bills, you say, if we're on a roll and we're Super Bowl contenders, and we believe that we will be Super Bowl contenders, and our quarterback goes down, can Case Keenum carry us the rest of the way? Can he finish it off if he has to? I would go with him before I would go with Brian Hoyer, obviously. I would go with him before I would go with Mitchell Trubisky, obviously. But when you have a team like the New England Patriots, who honestly can't be thinking Super Bowl. I mean, obviously that's the goal. We understand that that's the goal for everybody. But realistically, let's face it, they're looking for a guy.
Super Bowl.
They're looking for a guy who can maybe keep them in a game if Mac Jones goes down, and maybe start a game or two and get a win or two before Mac Jones comes back and keeps going. That's Brian Hoyer.
Such low aspirations.
Bro, you can aspire all you want, okay? You can aspire all you want. Everybody aspires to win the Super Bowl, but let's face it, they I mean, do the Jets think they're going to win the Super Bowl? Is that our next team up?
Well, they've got some Niner DNA in their coaching, so Super Bowl is just kind of there for you, man.
Take it easy. Slow down.
All right, well, let's jump over to the Jets. Starter is Zach Wilson. Now, again, what's this? His third year, I think?
Going into his third year.
Third year. And he's backed up by a guy who has 14 years, who's won a Super Bowl, who has career earnings of $173 million, 6'6" out of Delaware in the 2008 draft, round one, number 1 overall, one Joe Flacco. Flacco averaged about $12.3 million per year. Right now, to back up this young man, his contract's worth about $3.5 million. It's got to be sweet when you made that much money, and now you can come in as the backup. We talked about mentor with Brian Hoyer. What about with Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco?
Nice to have a mentor with the Super Bowl ring. You can't ask for much more than that, okay? Flacco's been there, done that, seen just about everything. He can teach him how to be a pro. He's been in the system a couple of years now, since 2020. So he can help him in the meeting rooms. He can mentor him on the sideline and in the meeting rooms. He's the de facto quarterback coach. I don't even know if they employ an actual quarterback coach, but Flacco would be it. Okay. I can think of a lot worse guys for Zach Wilson to have to turn to if things ain't going right out there on the field for him when he comes off and sits down on the bench. To have Joe Flacco come over with the surface and sit down and say, young boy, look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's his role. I'll give him $3 million a year for that. Sure.
$3 million. Okay. All right.
Now, if he has to play,
That's my next question.
if he has to play, first of all, let's remember, they drafted Zach Wilson to be their quarterback from now into whenever. He is their starting quarterback. Joe Flacco is there because if something happens to Zach Wilson, they expect Joe to be able to go in, hand the ball off, and throw enough passes to possibly win a game or two.
Okay.
Just off knowledge alone. And it's not like the guy can't throw anymore. He's just not who he was. But he can engineer a drive. He knows all the plays. He's not going to go numbnuts on you in the middle of a series. So, hey.
So he could potentially do a Nick Foles. Potentially.
Oh, I don't know if he can go that far because that's not the kind of team they have. Let's face it. The year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, although I believe they had a lot of luck, they had a pretty good doggone team. It wasn't like they were bums and he carried them. They had a good team. The Jets are not there yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we looked at the schedules. We looked at the personnel, the brain trusts. So I understand what you're saying because you got to get out of your division, no doubt about it. And that's a part of what's going to go on with that team. So there you go. All right. So Ben, AFC East, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, and Bills. Who's your favorite backup quarterback so far in this division?
Case Keenum, without a doubt.
Number
one, he's in the best situation. Number two, he fits this situation better than the other guys. Here's something interesting, okay? Since you started this off saying if you're headed for a Super Bowl and your quarterback goes down, right? That scenario. Of the other backups in the NFC East, if I didn't have Keenum and I only had to choose from them, I would have to go Teddy. I would hate to have to do that.
Really?
I would hate to have to do that, but I would go Teddy over Flacco. Yes, I would.
Wow. You would. Okay.
I think Teddy with the Bills' weapons would be better than Flacco with the Bills' weapons. That's just me.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a whole thing because you're talking Bills' weapons, so that's
right. Because you talked about Super Bowl.
Yeah. when I say Super Bowl, you think Bills.
Yes. At this moment, yes.
At this moment,
there's other teams I think about. I think Niners. I think Bills. I think Bucks. I think Rams.
Okay.
But that's for another show.
That's for another show. All right. So your favorite is Case Keenum coming out of it.
Yes.
Let's just rank them real quick. Case Keenum, then
Teddy, then Flacco.
Teddy and Flacco and Hoyer at the bottom, eh?
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. To me. Okay. Well, that wraps up the AFC East. Best job in the NFL as backup quarterback. The bottom line, though, we'll say the king of earning power in the AFC was definitely Joe Flacco at $173 million.
Which makes sense. The guy's got a Super Bowl ring. The guy's put up numbers. The guy's been a competent starter for many, many seasons.
No doubt about it. All right.